The mall was buzzing that afternoon. Shoppers weaving through gleaming storefronts, the air thick with the scent of pretzels and perfume. Major Sarah Miller, a decorated army veteran with steel in her spine and pride in her stride, had slipped.
Welcome to Shadow Crime. Before we begin, please like the video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue creating even better content. Thank you so much. All right, let's get started.
Away from her usual world of camouflage and command to do something simple, buy a new pair of boots. At 42, she'd seen combat zones hotter than a July sun, led troops through chaos, and earned every stripe on her uniform. Today, though, she was just a woman in jeans and a jacket, her short-cropped hair catching the light as she stepped out. Of the store, brown paper bag swinging in her hand. That's when Officer Troy Beckett spotted her. Beckett wasn't new to the badge, but his reputation. Let's just say it was stained darker than the coffee he chugged every shift. A cop with a rap sheet of his own. Whispers of racial profiling trailed him like smoke. He didn't see a soldier, a hero, or even a person when his eyes locked on Sarah. He saw suspicion. No reason, no evidence, just the itch of prejudice. Crawling up his neck. To him, she didn't belong in that shiny mall with her confident walk and dark skin, and that was enough. "Hey, you!" His voice cut through the hum of the crowd like a jagged blade. Sarah turned, brow furrowing as Beckett stormed toward her, his hand already twitching near the holster on his hip. Shoppers froze, sensing the storm brewing. "ID now," he barked, chest puffed like he owned the place. Sarah's eyes narrowed. She hadn't swiped a candy bar, hadn't even jaywalked. She'd just bought boots, on sale no less. "I don't owe you anything," she said, her voice calm but edged with authority, the kind that could silence a platoon. Beckett didn't like that. Not one bit. His face twisted, red creeping up his neck, and before anyone could blink, he yanked his Glock from its holster and aimed it square at her chest. Gasps ripped through the mall. A kid dropped his ice cream cone. A woman screamed, clutching her purse, as if it could shield her from the madness unfolding. Sarah didn't flinch, not outwardly, but inside. Her heart pounded with a fury she hadn't felt since her last tour. This wasn't a battlefield overseas, this was home, and some trigger-happy cop was treating her like the enemy. The gun trembled slightly in Beckett's grip, his bravado cracking under the weight of eyes now glaring from every corner. He didn't know who she was, couldn't fathom that the woman he'd just threatened was a major, a leader who'd stared down worse than him and walked away taller. The crowd swelled, phones out, filming, whispering. Chaos erupted, but Sarah stood firm, her gaze locked on his. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. What happens when a racist cop picks the wrong fight? Stick around, because this story's just getting started. The air in the mall thickened with tension, a powder keg ready to blow. Officer Troy Beckett's gun still hovered inches from Sarah Miller's chest, his finger twitching near the trigger. Shoppers stumbled back, wide-eyed as the scene unfolded, like a nightmare in broad daylight. But Sarah? She didn't blink. Years of military training had forged her into something unshakable. Battlefields had taught her how to stare down death and win. Her pulse raced, sure, but her face, cool as steel. She wasn't about to let this punk in a badge unravel her. Beckett snarled, his voice dripping with venom. "You're coming with me, now!" He took a step closer, arrogance blinding him, to the storm brewing around them. Sarah straightened, her jaw tight, and then she dropped the hammer. "I am Major Sarah Miller of the United States Army," she said, her words ringing out like a gavel slamming down. "Lower your weapon. That's an order." Her tone wasn't a plea, it was command. The kind that could make a soldier snap to attention or a coward rethink his life. Beckett froze, but only for a heartbeat. Then he scoffed, his lip curling. "Yeah, right. You? A major? Hands where?" I can see him. He didn't buy it, not her rank, not her poise, not the truth staring him in the face. To him, she was still just a target, and his pride wouldn't let him back down. Big mistake. The crowd, though, they were waking up. Phones flashed to life, cameras rolling as whispers turned to shouts. A lanky teenage kid in a hoodie, clutching his skateboard, thrust his phone high and yelled, "Yo, this dude's pointing a gun at a damn hero!" His voice cracked with outrage, and it lit a fuse. Suddenly the mall wasn't just a shopping spot, it was a stage, and Sarah was the star nobody saw coming. A mom with a stroller started filming. An old guy in a Vietnam vet cap muttered, "Disgraceful," and hit record. Dozens of screens captured every second. Beckett's trembling grip, Sarah's unyielding stance, the chaos swelling like a tidal wave. "Back off, man!" someone hollered. "She's a soldier!" Another voice chimed in. The crowd pressed closer, a wall of outrage and awe, their phones a chorus of tiny red lights. Beckett's eyes darted, sweat beading on his forehead. He'd wanted control, but now he was drowning in it. Sarah didn't move, didn't shout, just locked eyes with him, her silence louder than the uproar. She was a rock in a storm, and he was starting to crack. Videos were already uploading. Mall showdown. Trending before the dust even settled. The internet was about to explode, and Beckett had no idea the fire he'd just ignited. A racist cop versus a war hero. This was bigger than him now. Way bigger. Will the crowd save her, or will Beckett double down? You won't believe what's next. Stay tuned. The mall had turned into a pressure cooker. The crowd buzzing like a hive, ready to swarm. Phones were up, voices rising, every eye glued to the standoff between Major Sarah Miller and Officer Troy Beckett. His gun still loomed, a shaky symbol of his crumbling control, while Sarah stood like a monument, calm, defiant, unbreakable. Then, cutting through the chaos, came the sharp clack of heels and the rustle of authority. Mall security parted the sea of onlookers, and in strode police. Chief Denise Harper, her badge glinting under the fluorescent lights like a beacon of reckoning. Harper was a no-nonsense woman, built from years of wrangling a messy precinct into shape. She scanned the scene, Beckett's wild eyes, the gun, the crowd, and then her gaze landed on Sarah. Recognition hit her like a freight train. She blinked, mouth parting slightly. Major Sarah Miller. She'd seen that face in military briefings, heard the name tied to medals and missions that made headlines. This wasn't some random shopper. This was a damn American hero. And one of her own was holding her at gunpoint? Oh, hell no. "Beckett!" Harper's voice cracked like a whip, sharp enough to make the air flinch. "Holster that weapon now!" He jolted, the gun dipping as his bravado melted under her glare. She stormed forward, boots pounding the tile. "What in God's name?" "Oh, do you think you're doing?" Beckett stammered. She wouldn't show ID, but Harper cut him off, her hand slashing the air. "That's Major Sarah Miller, you idiot! United States Army! You're lucky she didn't disarm you herself." The crowd erupted, cheers, gasps, a few "I told you so's" rippling through. Phones zoomed in, capturing every second. Harper turned to Sarah, her tone softening but firm. "Major, I'm so sorry. This shouldn't have happened." Sarah nodded, her eyes still locked on Beckett, who now looked like a kid caught stealing. "Officer," Harper barked, "apologize now." Beckett mumbled something, half-baked, insincere, but it was too late. The damage was done, and the world was watching. "You're done here," Harper snapped. "You're suspended, effective immediately. Get out of my sight." Beckett's face crumpled, the gun finally back in its holster as security flanked, him ushering him away through a chorus of boos. The crowd roared louder, some clapping for Sarah, others for Harper. But the real explosion, it was already happening online. Those shaky phone videos, Mall Showdown, Night Justice for Sarah, were rocketing across social media, racking up thousands of views in minutes. Twitter lit up. TikTok stitched it with reactions. YouTube channels were already prepping breakdowns titled Racist Cop versus War Hero, The Takedown. Sarah adjusted her jacket, the bag of boots still dangling from her hand, and gave Harper a crisp nod. The chief had flipped the script, but the story, it was far from over. The internet had its claws in now, and it wasn't letting go. What happens when the world takes Sarah's side? Don't miss the next part. This is just the beginning. The mall showdown didn't just end, it detonated. By nightfall, those grainy phone videos had clawed their way across every screen in America. TikTok looped it with fire emojis and "She's a Queen" captions. YouTube racked up millions of views, thumbnails blaring, "Racist cop humiliated by war hero." Twitter, a war zone of hashtags. "A Justice for Sarah, Fire Beckett," trending nationwide. The clip of Major Sarah Miller staring down Officer Troy Beckett's gun, cool as ice, while Chief Harper ripped him apart. It was everywhere. Newsrooms scrambled to keep up as the story blazed into a full-on scandal, the kind that doesn't just spark outrage, it demands blood. Then came the digging. The internet sleuths didn't sleep. Old reports, blurry body cam footage, and hushed-up complaints about Beckett surfaced like ghosts from a dirty past. He wasn't just a loose cannon, he was a repeat offender. Racial profiling, aggressive stops, whispered slurs, all swept under the rug by a system that looked the other way. Until now, the public's fury was a tidal wave, crashing over every excuse. "How was this guy still a cop?" screamed one viral post, liked 100,000 times. Petitions swelled. Protests brewed. Beckett's name became a curse word overnight. And Sarah, she didn't ask for the spotlight, but it found her. Standing before a sea of cameras, her voice steady as granite, she turned the moment into a movement. "I'm lucky," she said, her eyes piercing through the lens. "I've got rank, I had witnesses, but how many others, how many everyday people face this injustice with no one to see it, no one to stop it?" Her words hit like a thunderclap, reverberating across living rooms and phone screens. She wasn't just a soldier anymore. She was a symbol, a rallying cry against the rot in the badge. Comments flooded in. "She's speaking facts. This is why we need change." Beckett's fate was sealed. The department didn't just suspend him this time, they axed him. Fired on the spot, his badge stripped as cameras rolled. But it didn't stop there. Investigations cracked open his past, every ugly incident under the microscope. The crowd wasn't done either. Marches clogged city streets, signs demanding "Overhaul the Polizei" and "No more Becketts." Voices online and off roared for reform. Stricter oversight, body cams that actually work, accountability that sticks. The scandal wasn't just about one cop anymore. It was a reckoning. Sarah walked away from the press conference, her boots clicking on pavement, a quiet strength in her step. She'd won this battle, but her words lingered like a promise. This fight was bigger than her. The videos kept spreading, the hashtags kept trending, and the pressure kept building. One cop was down, but the system, it was trembling. Will justice finally prevail? Or is this just the spark of something massive? Hit that subscribe button. This story's about to shake the world. The saga of Major Sarah Miller and Officer Troy Beckett carries profound lessons that resonate deeply, especially for those who've weathered many seasons of life. At its heart, this story whispers a timeless truth. Courage isn't just for the young or the battlefield. It's a quiet fire that burns in everyday moments, even in the twilight years. Sarah, a woman forged by service, didn't falter when faced with injustice. She stood tall, drawing on a lifetime of resilience. For the elderly, this is a reminder that experience is a shield. Your years of facing storms, big and small, have built a strength that no one can take away. You don't need a uniform to command respect. You carry it in your steady gaze and unwavering voice. Yet, There's a harder lesson here, one the elderly know too well. The world doesn't always see you for who you are. Beckett's blindness, his refusal to look beyond his prejudice, mirrors how society can dismiss the wisdom and worth of those with grey hair and lined faces. But Sarah's triumph shows that truth can break through, often with the help of others' voices. The crowd, the cameras, the community, they amplified her stand. For older folks, this suggests a call to connection. Your stories, your struggles matter, and sharing them can spark change, even if it's just with a neighbor or a grandchild. Finally, this tale urges reflection on legacy. Beckett's fall came from a past he couldn't outrun, while Sarah's rise stemmed from a life of purpose. As the years stack up, ask yourself, what mark am I leaving? The elderly have a unique power to guide, to warn, to inspire, because you've seen the cycles of right and wrong play out. Sarah's fight wasn't just hers, it was for the unseen, the unheard. So live boldly, speak kindly, and stand firm. Your twilight isn't a fade-out, it's a chance to light a fire for those who will follow, proving that dignity and justice never age.